160 years ago, Charles Darwin changed the way we see the world when he explained evolution with his theory of natural selection. With it, he proposed a mechanism by which only natural processes could produce changes within species that may result in the formation of new species. The science related to this is fascinating and sometimes controversial, but before we dig into it, we need to ask, why don't Christians all agree on Darwin's theory or on the history of life on planet Earth? Prior to Darwin, most scientists and philosophers agreed with some version of the metaphor of God as a watchmaker. Christian philosopher William Paley gets most of the credit from his description of a scenario in which someone, out for a walk in the woods, stumbles across a pocket watch laying on the ground. Its intricacy and elegance would lead you to conclude that it must be the product of an intentional design. After all, if one cog or dial was removed, the watch would fail. The complexity eliminates the possibility of assembly by random chance, and the beauty and craftsmanship suggest purpose and design. If there's evidence of design, Paley believed the most likely designer was God. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are all rooted in a God who is responsible for creation of the universe and the life it contains. Dissent from this position did not start with Darwin's theory as many mistakenly believe. In fact, the ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus was the first to suggest some version of naturalistic evolution 200 years before Christ, but it didn't stick until 2,000 years later, in part because there was no credible mechanism for how evolution occurred until Darwin. For many in the scientific community, Darwin's theory of natural selection made Paley's design argument obsolete. It provided a plausible explanation for how the remarkable complexity of life might have come about with the impression of design, but without a designer. This theory quickly gained the support of mainstream scientists and sparked a revolution in biology. What may be just as remarkable as the theory itself was its later application to nearly every discipline, not just the biological sciences. This was the starting point for the modern version of a naturalistic worldview. Or as Richard Dawkins put it, although atheism might have been logically tenable before Darwin, Darwin made it possible to be an intellectually fulfilled atheist. Now we begin to see the root of the controversy. Darwin legitimized a naturalistic worldview, and many Christians fear that accepting evolution will further that cause. But does accepting Darwinian evolution result in a rejection of Christianity? While some believe so, others recognize that replacing God with evolution makes a category mistake. That is to say, God and evolution are not the same category of explanation. Natural selection is a mechanism that attempts to explain how species change, and God is the source and designer of mechanisms. This helps us understand how some Christians find evolution to be fully compatible with their faith if they see God as the instigator of the mechanism of natural selection. Further confusion remains because the term evolution is applied in at least 3 different ways. It's a mechanistic explanation of how species changed, often labeled microevolution. It's extrapolated into the belief that all life forms share a common ancestor, the concept of common descent, and it's a master narrative for the simple to complex nature of reality that eliminates any sense of purpose, meaning, or design from nature and ourselves. Among Christians in the sciences, microevolution is almost universally affirmed and creates virtually no controversy. The third form is naturalism, pure and simple, and it's incompatible with Christianity. The second view, however, is the source of disagreement, and that's where we'll focus most of our attention. The future of the relationship between evolution and Christianity is dependent in part on science's ability to answer questions about the mechanism that remain unclear. But more importantly, Bible scholars and theologians will need to continue to address the compatibility of evolutionary theory with their understandings of Scripture and of God. Stay tuned for more videos in the future on just those topics.
Thanks for watching. You know, this issue has caused too much division for too long, but it won't cause problems forever. We believe that with good science and biblical understandings, we're coming closer to the truth of how God created and what the Bible is intended to teach on this topic. Disciple Science is a crowd-funded nonprofit, and we're based here in beautiful and cold St. Paul, Minnesota. And we're exploring the intersection of faith and science. We believe that scientific understandings can inspire a strengthened Christian faith. If you want to support the production of more videos like this, you can do so by visiting our website at disciplescience.com and clicking on the support button in the upper right-hand corner. You can give a one-time donation or become a monthly supporter to enhance the long-term health of this project. If you want to hear more about the tension between science and Christian faith and what's at its roots, you can click on this link right down here. And if you want to explore science as a way of knowing God, check this video out right over here. And we would appreciate if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can find out when the next video comes out, and this is the place for that.